Azure VMware Solution, Azure Components. So the diagram on the screen probably looks very familiar. It's your typical Azure hierarchy, high level. You have your subscription, under your subscription, your resource groups, and then the resources that are organized into resource groups. So let's talk about how Azure VMware Solution connects into the Azure components. So AVS is a Azure resource like any other Azure resource. So as such, it's going to be, when deployed, it's going to be part of a resource group. It can be part of a new resource group or an existing resource group. And then it'll, like all other Azure services or resources, it'll be part of a subscription. There are a few requirements for the subscription. First, the subscription has to be either a subscription that's attached to an enterprise agreement or a cloud service provider agreement. Secondly, the subscription has to have the quota for AVS enabled, and that's done via a support ticket. The customer would open up a support ticket, simply ask for Azure VMware Solution quota to be enabled, and then that would allow them to deploy the AVS private cloud. When AVS is deployed, there are at minimum 2 other Azure resources that are directly related or connected to AVS. So AVS connects to the rest of Azure via an express route, just like an on-prem environment would. So after the private cloud is deployed, it needs to be connected to a virtual network or a virtual network gateway. The virtual network and the virtual network gateway can be existing or brand new, dedicated for AVS. And of course, the final thing that needs to be identified from an Azure component perspective to support AVS is what region you're going to deploy AVS to. So a few things to consider. The express route from AVS can be terminated to multiple regions. So when you are picking the region where you want to deploy Azure VMware Solution to, keep in mind that, as an example, if you deploy Azure VMware Solution to West US, you can not only terminate your express route to West US, but you could also terminate it to East US, you could also terminate it to South Central, etc. You can terminate to multiple regions, and you don't even have to terminate the express route into the same region as Azure VMware Solution is deployed. The backups that you're going to take from Azure VMware Solution, so the virtual machine backups, those backups need to be taken in the same region where Azure VMware Solution is deployed, be it using Azure Backup or a third-party Azure-based backup provider. If it's not done in the same region, the backup will fail shortly after it begins. Again, like we spoke of on the previous slide, AVS quota needs to be granted for the subscription. So in summary, when planning for your Azure VMware Solution deployment, the Azure components need to be identified. The region, the subscription, the resource groups or resource group, and also you need to submit a quota request for AVS to be added to the subscription. Once you've identified those things and the quota is enabled, now we have the Azure components ready for Azure VMware Solution.